Hi guys, welcome to this Sunday live show. Thank you so much for joining in. I can see few people here on Zoom and few people have already logged in on YouTube. I think there is a lot of excitement for people who are there on YouTube. I can see a lot of questions pouring in even before the start of the session today. I can see a lot of responses coming in and the questions as well. So once again, thank you so much for joining on this Sunday evening. I welcome all of you, all of my friends who are there from pharma, medical device background, and people who are there from other backgrounds as well. So today's show is again very exciting, as all of you know. Just one request before we start on this show: just keep introducing yourself in the chat window so that we know who all are here. Just type in your name, your city, and your company name so that know who all are here, people who are there on YouTube and people who are there on Zoom. Please, just a request to introduce yourself. And if you are here for the first time, just type in FT in the comment box. FT stands for first time, so that we can welcome you all people who are first timers. Just type in FT. FT stands for first time. I can see a few people. Hi Pratibha, hi Asan, Anurag, Srivasan. A lot of people are there on YouTube. I can only name people who have put in their responses in the chat window. So guys, just keep introducing yourself and type in FT if you are here for the first time. And yeah, hi Abhishek. I can see a lot of responses coming in at both the platforms, and it is difficult for me to juggle between these two. But once again, welcome all of you and people who are here for the first time. Let me tell you about this show. So this show is being streamed live. People who are here on Zoom, just let me tell you. And if you are here for the first time, for people who are there on YouTube, this show is all about career success in medical devices. So this show is about making right career choices, making right career decision, and also to equip you about the knowledge of the industry and what are the required skill set to grow, to have an accelerated career growth in medtech industry. So initially I started doing it all those videos myself, and then I thought that it would be great to have industry experts, industry stalwarts to come and talk to you every Sunday. So we have completed 8 insightful sessions with industry stalwarts, and today also we have one very exciting guest. So without any further ado and without wasting so much of your time, let me introduce today's guest to all of you. So he doesn't need any introduction. He is once again a very brilliant pharmaceutical and medical device thorough sales professional and a business professional. He has over 25 years of experience, and I'm talking about Mr. Dharampal Singh Rawat to all of you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Dharampal Singh Rawat to all of you. Dharampal is popularly known as DP. So a lot of people in industry knows him and call him as DP. So DP is a very dear friend of mine as well. So he has got, as I said, he has got 25 years of experience of working in both pharmaceutical and medical device industry. He is a science graduate. He did his graduation in 1995 from Delhi University and joined, like many of us, joined Reptacos, which is a pharma company, in the year 1995 as a medical rep. And then he worked there for about 5 years, become area manager there, and then he switched into Fulford India, which is known as MSD nowadays. So he worked there again for about 5 4 5 years. So total spending, after spending almost 10 years in pharmaceutical industry, he joined medical device industry, and Abbott Vascular was his first company. He worked there for about 10 years in an increasing responsibility, managing the entire region as well towards the end of his career in Abbott Vascular. And then he joined Medtronic, which is a well-known again medtech company, which is an industry in itself in medtech. So he joined he worked there as an associate director in MITG division, and then in his current assignment since last 2 years, over 2 years, he is working with Merrill Life Sciences as a business director and taking care of cardiology, including structural heart portfolio, managing both sales and marketing. So, without any further ado, once again, thank you so much, DP, for joining us and kind of accepting our invite to interact with the audience here. And once again, welcome to you to this show on the Bright Orbit.
Thanks, Pankaj, for that nice introduction. I also look forward to this session, and I hope my experience and whatever learnings I have got from my career will be of help to some of the people who join here. And everybody has a journey of his career, his or her career. I also have, and over a period of time, is it happens that you keep on learning a lot of things, and you learn, and then you again implement it, and again you unlearn, and then again learn something new. So that keeps on happening with everybody. That has happened with me also as a professional in my professional career. You rightly said almost 25 years now. 1995 I started, and now it's 2020. A long journey. So I look forward to this discussion, and I hope it will be of some value add to the participants over here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are all here to learn from you. And you can probably share some of the defining moments, some of the life events which you feel were important and which shaped you as a professional, which made you as a person you are. So over to you, DP. We are all here to listen from you.
Okay, I think you already given my career snapshot to the people how it started.
Yeah.
1995, I was fresh out of the college, and as any middle class boy who has done graduation and who has no any other idea what to do in career or in life forward, without any much direction or without any much thought, the only option after graduation one gets, or I got, was that to get a job. And frankly telling, that time, I still remember Times of India used to come, and there was a Wednesday, uh, you know, supplement in it, which was basically focused around jobs and vacancies. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It's 25 years old story. So, and it used to have a lot of ads from various pharmaceutical companies. You require medical rep, and salary, some 4,000 rupees, something 5,000 rupees. That used to look very, this thing looked pretty wow, some 4,000, 5,000 rupees job. And that's how it started. And one of my friends got into Raptopus, and I was, why, how could you get a job in a pharma company? And I'm not even able to figure it out. But then he helped me get that. And that's how my journey with this healthcare and pharmaceutical industry started. So, so Raptor was my first company. I spent almost 5 years there, grew to the level of area manager, and nothing to boast about it. But I think I became area manager in 2.5 years of time. And at that time, Raptor used to have medical reps with 30 years of experience, and they were like from day one of the company still medical reps. And I, being a young college pass out.
DP, can you increase your, can you speak a bit louder, please? I think people are not
Okay,
able
I
to.
am. Hello, is that okay now?
Yeah, now it's okay. Sorry to.
Already holding the mic very close to
Okay.
me. But I hope it will now increase.
Yeah.
Is that better now? So
Yes,
that's how it
yes.
started. So 5 years with Aptocos, and then, as you said, Full Ford, which was Sharing Plow at that time. Today it's called MSD. Full Ford exposed me to the interventional cardiology domain actually, and Full Ford was a great experience because I started working in the niche area of interventional cardiology. I remember we have a product called GP2B3 inhibitor, which is basically aplifavatide, and which is used in the cath lab. And we started meeting all these superheroes of interventional cardiologists, KOLs, big KOLs who would be very difficult to meet for a pharma rep. And we will be standing in the corridors waiting for them outside the OPD rooms, and sometimes they will not even meet us. So that's how this journey was there. I think medical devices was something which happened just by chance, because they thought, I'll not say but by chance, but it happened because we saw these people coming in OPDs or to the doctor's chamber, just walk past, through us, and straight away into the chamber, and they would get a different kind of a welcome from the customers, which a pharma guy would never get. At least I experienced that. It might be very candid. People might feel offended about it, but that's what actually used to happen. And they would come with a laptop in hand, and pharmaceutical sales at that time, laptop was like, never heard of. We would never have even a desktop we would have not have seen at that time. We would be carrying our big brown bags with leather bags with samples and big visual aids. And they would come with a laptop in hand. Just they will go inside, take their half an hour, 40 minutes, then come out, and suddenly we'll feel like we are the second class citizens of this industry and they are the first class citizens. So that's what started happening. We started saying, what are these companies and how do you get into these companies? So, and it was not easy at that time getting into a medical device company because they were very limited companies, very, like Boston's or, the other company, very, very small in size in India with limited number of employees, no connections, nothing. Job consultants was never heard of a phenomenon at that time. Today you have so many recruitment consultants. People have a way and mean of reaching out to industry. So that's how it has been. And then in 2005, one of my friend who was working with Guidant, so he approached me because I had spent almost 2.5-3 years with Full Ford and into the interventional radiology space. I think that experience helped me get this breakthrough. Because obviously this cardiology medical device segment people, they were also meeting the same set of customers. So that's how I got into my first entry into the medical device domain. The company was called Guidant at that time, which later on became Abbott Vascular. And that's how and I think in my career, that shift to the medical devices and that to a company like Guidant, which was a US-based company known for its world-class, clinically competent, evidence-based products. And this company had immense respect within the customers, within the industry. And I think that breakthrough was one of the defining moments in my career shift. And the learnings which I think imbibed in my career in Guidant and then in Abbott Vascular, I think has taken me to the next levels in my career wherever I could have reached till now. So that's how it is in a crisp manner. But anything you want to, anything else I can contribute here, or I don't want to just keep on speaking and let's not make it a monologue. Then let's have some discussion-based things.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for kind of sharing your early years of career and getting into medical devices. You said your friend helped you in terms of getting from Full Ford to the Guidant. Okay. So what were the kind of key skill set which you feel were important for you so that you could make that kind of transition easier? Or what would be your advice to people who are, because a lot of people are here in this today's meeting are from pharmaceutical industry, and also they are pretty much interested to get into devices. So what would be your advice to those people? What kind of skill set do they need to have, or how they can make that transition easy into devices?
I think the overall healthcare industry has evolved now. So a lot of pharmaceutical companies have also evolved into niche product lines now. There are obviously Me Too products now, but it also has a niche product line. And when I joined, I think the critical aspect was, it was a total paradigm shift for me as a professional. Coming from a very, very modest background, coming from a very modest company, wherein basically you were handling a large number of customers with a set of working routine. You have to do some 10 doctors or 12 doctors in a day, and then you also have to meet some chemists, and you also have to do some distributor calls and all those things. And coming to an environment where there would be days where you would not even meet a single customer, and there would be days where you might meet 10 or 20 customers in a day also. Something can happen like that. But I think the major thing which is required, or major thing I think is the very, very important part, is the person's learning aptitude. How open, I'll not say how capable, how open are you to learning? Because learning can only happen if you're open to it. And we all come from a baggage कि मेरे को आता है. Actually, once you say कि मेरे को आता है, फिर learning करना बहुत मुश्किल काम है. So it's very difficult to learn if you say मेरे को आता है. So we all come from an education background. Nowadays, most of the pharma or most of the professionals who are working in pharmaceutical, they have MBAs and all those things. So they are learned a lot. But then when you join a company, especially when there is a shift from pharmaceutical sales to a medical device sales, it has to be a paradigm shift. It is actually a paradigm shift, and you have to be mentally prepared to get into a paradigm shift mode. You would have learned a lot of things. The only thing you can bring there is the hard working capability you have generated in the pharmaceutical sales. But then when you come over here, the learning is at a different level. You have to get into a different kind of an attitude. The attitude has to be very, very positive outlook, because business is large, customers are in low numbers, and the business volume depending on one customer is very, very high. So your stakes are very, very high. Pharmaceuticals, 200 customers, 300 customers in a list. So stake on one customer is not very high. But here, you have 10 customers, 20 customers, and your whole objective of the year is defined by those people. So I believe learning attitude and openness to learn is very, very critical. Secondly, I think is developing your own capability. Capability is very, very important. Unless you learn and develop yourself to meet this demand of the market, because these customers are very different. They're reminder customers. These are not those customers you're meeting 12 in a day, and most of them you're just reminding them about a product. Here you talk to them at a different level, and the only way you can differentiate yourself as a professional, especially in medical device domain, is your clinical knowledge. Unless you are very, very sound with your clinical knowledge, the customer is not going to respect you. He might give you time because you come from a big company. You might come from a big medical device house, a US multinational, or a European multinational, or an Indian big house. But then, if you are not clinically competent, they are not going to give you that level of respect which you should demand or you should command as a differentiated professional. So that's very, very important. Second part is one has to be very, very flexible, very open, and very, very confident also. You need to develop your confidence level to the next level. Otherwise, the type of customers we meet over here, they're like super KOLs. Especially if I talk of my domain, which is intervention cardiology. They are like the cream of the cream, and handling them and managing them and sitting in front of them and discussing some clinical aspect of a product, it's not an easy task. So these are few very, very critical part. And then the learning is continued. Learning is continued. You don't have to depend on the company to train you. Company will train you. All these companies will have their own training schedules, which are regular. But then one has to invest time in his or her self-learning. Very important, because the evidence is evolving so fast. So many data being published, so many publications coming. If you don't read them and you don't share with the customers, they're not going to understand that you know anything. So these are a very critical part to it, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much for elaborating on the kind of differences in medical devices, or the kind of skill set which you require for you to transition into medtech industry, and what it all takes to kind of get into medical device industry. First and foremost, you mentioned it very precisely, is about open to learning. Okay, that is the first thing. Yeah, we all feel that that is extremely important. It does not matter which industry you are in, and especially if you are in healthcare or medical device industry, yes, you have to be open to learning, and that is a wonderful thing. And apart from this, the things which you mentioned about clinical knowledge, about the skills which you kind of carry on, is being confident when you are kind of talking to big KOLs, is extremely important. And so now I think moving on from here, a lot of people, I would say, a lot of people who are here on this meeting, I can see a mix of people who are here from pharma as well as medical device industry. So guys, please type in the chat window, how has been your experience of working in pharmaceutical industry and working in medical device industry? And if you have worked in both, please type in what do you see? Is there any difference? Are there any similarities? So please type in your responses. We would be kind of taking on some of the comments during the session as well. So just let us know how has been your experience of working in pharma and medical device industry. So moving on from here, DP, a lot of people, including myself, including you, we have transitioned from pharma sales rep to medical device sales reps. So and initially, I think it's not so easy for a lot of people to do this transition smoothly. A lot of people I interacted with, a lot of people, they kind of fail as well in first year itself. So what it takes to be successful apart from these skills set, do you see any kind of attitude versus skill? What do you prefer more, or how a person can do a successful transition into devices?
Yeah, you're right, Pankaj. I think it's a different world when you change to medical devices. But then, as I said, one has to be very, very open to the ideas of this new world. Especially when it's like graduating yourself from, sorry to say, from economy class to business class. So you need to really get into a different mode of learning, different mode of presenting yourself, different mode of accepting the realities of that business, different mode of accepting the way the customers are going to treat you, and a different mode of and obviously you also need to accept that it is a time taking process. The kind and the way one has worked in his past job is not mandatory that it's going to help you in your present job. So I remember there's a book called, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So one has to keep always that in mind that, whatever you've done in life till now, uh, you might have got success because of that, but it is not necessary that the same thing is going to get you success in the present job or present work or present situation you are in. So one has to be very open and very, very, ready to accept the reality and accept that yes, I need to upgrade myself. I need to learn. I need to see things in a different manner. I need to take help. I need to take help from my superior, my colleague, my channel partner. So I need to take help. So it is basically, I think, leveraging people and then move forward. If you, I don't think in any profession or any job you can't become, a one-man army. You cannot. You cannot be successful if you think I can do everything. Here you have to come with a mindset that it's not I, it's we have to do it. And whether it's your marketing folks, whether it's your business development folks, whether it's your colleague who is covering some other territory, whether it's a channel partner, all these things. I think you have to take along everything. You have to have a capability of working with people. You can't, it's very difficult to get success on your own. You cannot. Wherever you are, I believe with that very strongly. Secondly, whenever you come to a new set of product line or a new set of industry, from especially from a pharma sales to a medical device sales, you are in a new world. So you have to give yourself time to learn. Don't rush into things. First thing is, I think, develop your clinical competence. That is very, very critical because the interaction which you are going to have with these super KOLs or super specialists, and if your first couple of interactions you're not able to impress them with your knowledge and your confidence and your communication skills, it will be a long path then. So give yourself time, learn through the process, learn the product, learn the SOPs, learn the hospital environment, learn the customer, read the customer, gain knowledge about the customer, and then go around it. Take help from the people who are there in the system already. Don't think that I have 10 years of experience and I know everything. I remember when I joined Guidant, I was already a regional manager. And I joined as a clinical specialist, which was like basically a frontline medical device representative. So that's the paradigm shift. So if I would have joined as RM in my mind, and in reality I joined as a clinical specialist, it would have been very, very tough. I might have failed, but I think then you have to accept, no, this is a different world. So that's all. So one has to be very, very flexible. One has to accept the real situation out there. You can't be just living in your past glories all the time. Your past glory has given you that breakthrough in the devices. That's उसने अपना काम कर दिया. You cannot live on that. That's gone now. So you have to build your legacy and glory now going forward, and that you can only build if you accept that yes, you have to learn something. You have to imbibe the new culture. You have to imbibe the new way of working, to imbibe the new demands of this job. And and here the customers are so limited with a rep or a manager, that you have to handle them at whatever cost you have to do. You can't lose them. And for that, you will have to work odd hours. You will have to work on short notices. And believe me, I can tell you from experience, these customers are very, very smart. They know how to test you, and they're going to test you. And if you fail, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen if you fail. The only thing which will happen, you will never be in their close circle. You will never be their first man whom they're going to call if they have some work. So whole thing is here not getting the business. The whole thing is that getting into that first circle of the customer. Once you get there, business is automatically flowing. So I have been tested many times. I get tested today also. So and it will keep on happening. If you say कि मेरा relationship बन गया है, now I can sleep. No, you cannot. So all these things are there, and I think one has to really understand the importance of the business, because this business is large volume based on low number of customers. So the importance and criticality always goes up in medical devices. So that mindset change has to be there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for kind of explaining, and with the wonderful explanation of the quote, what brought you here won't take you there. So I think that was a wonderful explanation, and that will be helpful for people who are planning to kind of switch from pharmaceutical industry to medical device industry. So as DP has mentioned, it will be a paradigm shift. So kind of buckle up and kind of be ready before you jump on this train. Okay, so be absolutely well prepared, and be thorough with why you are joining in this industry and what do you want to do when you get in here. Okay, so be very absolutely clear on your thought process. What is your goal, and why do you want to join this industry? So thank you so much, DP, for kind of elaborating on this aspect of kind of having this smooth transition. And I also see a very peculiar thing happening with a lot of people probably starting as a sales rep, like most of us. They grow in their careers, maybe become area managers, second line managers, and most often than not, many people, they kind of they peak out to this level of managing a region. But there are very few people like you who goes up and manage the country, become the director of business, marketing, sales, all these things. Okay, so how have you done it? What are those few critical things which helped you grow in your career? Probably other people can take a cue out of it.
Okay, it's a very difficult question actually. Sometimes you just do things and you are not able to really know. If you ask me to write a flow chart, it will be very, very impossible to do that, because there are multiple factors to achieving success in life. It's not only your hard work or your smart work, as one can call it, but then there are multiple different factors. So I think one is whatever job you are in, the first point is whatever role you are in, either you are in the frontline role or a area manager, RM, or a national role. You have to own that job. You have to own that role. First thing you have to just justify that role. First thing is that you have to justify your efforts, your hard work in that role. And if you are not able to do that, you cannot expect any kind of growth or any kind of success. And justification does not only mean that you're doing your numbers. Numbers is just a part of that. Justification means, are you able to add beyond numbers to your team as a professional? Do people look at you not only a sales rep? Do people look at you as a friend, an inspirer, a guide, a mentor? You don't have to wait to become an area manager and then become a mentor or a guide or an inspirer to somebody. Your small actions, the way you do your job, the way you behave in the team, the way you carry yourself in front of a customer, the way you carry yourself inside the office, all these things matter. Sometimes you don't have to look up to your bosses to get inspired. You can get inspired by your colleague who might be junior to you because he conducts himself or herself in a manner which is far more inspiring. So I think one has to look at overall development of his or her in whatever job you are. Yes, numbers, performance, every year on year matters. It matters, and it will come if you're doing the right things. And I think in medical devices, few things are very, very critical for success in the world. First thing is the customer orientation. I think this industry or this job requires a very, very high level of customer orientation. That means keeping your customer first. That means keeping your customer first and doing whatever is possible in the domain of your work culture and ethics to manage him and keep him delighted. Customers have to feel that this person is dependable, this person is responsible, and that's how they will come closer to you, and that's how you're going to get the business. Here, you cannot get the business by standing in front of a customer 12 hours a day. Here, you cannot get business by meeting a customer 20 times a month. Here, you cannot get customers by just calling him, sending him WhatsApp messages, reminder calls. You cannot get business by all these things. Unless the customer keeps you one of the preferred industry persons in his domain of industry, your business levels will not be at that level. Yeah, you might get still some business, but you will never be that top star. So I think one has to work towards that. And that can happen multiple ways. First of all, the customer has to respect you as a professional, as your clinical competence, your attitude, your willingness to be flexible, to work in odd hours, your responsibility to respond in short notices, and and he has to know that if I've told Pankaj something, this is going to happen. So I think these are very, very critical part of whatever job you do. Second part is result orientation. Obviously, customer results are also critical. Results are not only numbers. Results are everything you do in the job. It could be uh, you know, as basic as your documentation practices, as small as your training needs, or not small, as one of the training needs, or the SOPs, following the SOPs, as maybe the way you work in the field. Are you going well dressed up? Are you going in a shabby manner? Are you presentable? Are you always handy with your the product literature? Are you always ready with those? And following the overall matrices in the company, that's very, very important. I see a lot of good performers who are doing 120% sales, but they will lag behind in not doing their CBTs, they're not doing their SOPs, their documents are pathetic. Oh, expense time pe nahi banayenge. So they will be undisciplined in every other thing, and they will be only disciplined in numbers. So they will not grow. Because one has to always know and accept that when you grow to the next level, numbers are not the only thing. Numbers will become a lower part of the most of the things you do in the larger jobs you do in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining it pretty beautifully. That numbers are not everything, and there are a lot of other things which are essential for you to become a kind of successful professional in your career. And as you mentioned, that probably business is like a hygiene for all of us. Okay, so business is the thing which you have to do anyway. There is no escape from that. But if you can become a friend, if you can become a guide, or if you can help other people, if they are kind of willing to come to you with their problems, and you are able to solve those problems, I think that is the kind of turning point, or that is the kind of point wherein you can feel that you are probably on the right path in your career. And as DP mentioned, especially in medtech industry, it is more of customer orientation. More if you can make your customer experience the delight by dealing with you. It's not by standing 12 hours in a day. It's not by kind of doing, as DP mentioned, 20 times, calling 20 times a customer. You will not get business. Okay, so the industry is different. Probably you have to develop those closer relationships with your customers, because number of customers are small. And as DP mentioned, probably you have to get into that inner first circle wherein your customer is dependent on you, and the customer starts calling you for any problem he or she is having. Okay, so that is when you see that tipping point coming in your career, and that is when you kind of transition to higher and higher roles and responsibilities in your career. So moving on from here, I would like to kind of deep dive into this customer relationship things. Okay, DP would like to have, maybe you, if you can quote some of the examples from your own career so far in medtech industry. How have you managed? Because I know you have managed wonderful lot of big KOLs. Even now you are kind of dealing with them, managing them. So what would be your advice to young talent who is out there, if like how to manage KOL relationship, how to kind of keep them with you for lifelong?
Yeah, Pankaj, I think I already said few things about it, but I think KOL, when you are meeting these big KOLs, it is first of all one has to really understand that they are not going to be impressed by you in your first visit, and they're going to test you. They are going to test your knowledge. They are going to test your updation of knowledge, how much updated you are about the things. They are going to test your competence on the soft skills, as important as making a PowerPoint presentation for them, and that too on a short notice. They will rely on you giving you task on a very short notice. Within 2 days you have to get this thing done. So they will be doing consistent testing of yours, and you have to pass with flying colors every time. And I said, after 25 years, also some of the biggest cables in India and South Asia, which I manage, they still test me. And after enjoying a fantastic relationships and the long-term, associations with them, they still test us. And we can't say, I have done 25 times, so I can't do 26 times. So we still have to do it. So I think that attitude is very, very important, that customer will be customer always. He will never be your friend. He will never be your friend. He might become your friend, but you cannot become his friend. You are still a professional industry wala for him. So one has to realize that. The day you realize you miss this thing and you take any customer for granted, failure is imminent. I can guarantee it. And I'm not saying because uh, nobody, most of them fall into this trap. I also fall into this trap many times, wherein I take customer lightly, and then I'm shown that you are industry. You need to behave, right? So one has to be very, very clear about it. And that's what I talked about, customer orientation. This is what is customer orientation. Customer orientation, customer is customer. He can talk to you nicely. You can go to his house, have drinks with him, have dinner with his family. You will reach all these levels, but then he will still be a customer. That's very, very critical. And that's this is what, when the customer realizes that you are treating him like that despite all the comfort zone with him, you are still treating him a level up than you, he will always respect you. And that is when you start developing that long-term rapport and relationships. So I was in cardiology industry 2015 till 2015. Then for 3 years I was not in the cardiology segment. When I joined Medtronic, I was in a different product line in a different segment, which was most of surgicals, capital equipments. And then after 3 years out of the system, I came back to cardiology segment when I joined this present company in 2018. And I can share with you all, the first day when I met all these senior KOLs after 3 years, you know, and they all responded in such a fashion because as if I was meeting them daily. So I think that is what we have to develop. That the relationship has to be long lasting, and and it was like we just restarted everything, and I'm not saying that I could have done it. A lot of people do it, and anybody can do it, but then you always have to carry the right attitude. And right, I'll give you examples how customer test. People might feel कि मैं तो बहुत बड़ा आदमी हूँ, मैं ये काम क्यों करूँ? But the customer wants you to do it. It is as basic as a small product which is not available in the hospital. He wants you to get it. So you have to get it. I remember when I was a regional manager in my past organization, biology sector. One evening, a customer calls me. He needed a particular wire, so I don't know if people who are not in cardiology devices, they might not know. So there are guide wires which are used in the procedure for taking the other stuff inside the heart, right? So they're basically the pathways. So he needed a particular guide wire. He calls me night at 9 p.m. and he says I need a 7 a.m. Now there are two ways of responding. Sir, 7 बजे तो कोई distributor खुलता नहीं है, right? और रात को 9 बजे भी नहीं खुला है, किधर से ला के देंगे? मेरा ऑफिस भी बंद है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर भी बंद है, कहाँ से ला के? बट ही सेज मेरे को 7 बजे केस करना है एंड आई नीड इट. So I'm not saying that I did it, but yes, I did it. But then I did it because I kept him first. Why didn't he call my competition? Why did he call me only? He could have called my competition. But he said, no, I want you to do it. And you believe me or not, I did it. I called up a distributor whose house was above his office. He was not covering this account. But since, as I told, rapport building, relationships, they are critical. So that relationship held that time with that distributor. I called up in the night. मैं सुबह 6 बजे तेरे पास आऊँगा. I need this wire. You need to open my office in the morning. Give me the wire. I did that. Reached his house 6 a.m. He came down, opened the office, gave me the wire. I went to the hospital, and when I entered the cath lab with the wire, I called the doctor. He was not expecting me to be there with the wire. He said, who has brought the wire? I said, I am standing in the cath lab with the wire. And I'm saying, he was so delighted. I'm not saying कि ऐसा हर बार होगा, but जब होगा तो करना पड़ेगा. So point is, the customers will test you, and you have to come out flying colors. Either you can keep on giving excuses, ये नहीं हो सकता, वैसे नहीं हो सकता, or you find out a way of doing it. And I think, and this example I have given many times in my orientation programs in the organization, when new people join and tell them, you can't think here, मैं तो RM, I'm RM. How can I do that? He's a customer first. So I think we all have to get out of that shape and get out of that mindset कि मैं boss हूँ, मैं RM. We all are industry was serving these customers. So you have to serve them. You might not have to do it daily, but then you have to do someday. So there are a lot of instances, a lot of stories of such examples, where, and that's what helps build that rapport. And that's what we have been able to do that, and we have been able to develop that rapport and carry on till now.
Right. I think thank you so much for sharing these stories, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. People who have been working in medtech industry, guys, please share your examples, your stories for which you feel can be inspiring for other people, or can give them a taste of what it takes to, or what it is like to work in medtech industry. So I would also like to share you to share your story, your experiences of interacting with customer. And I think what I can say is you have to be on your toes 24/7. Okay, you may get call when you are with your family, kind of watching a movie in a theater, or you probably are already slept, or you are planning to sleep, having dinner with your friends. So you have to be responsive, and you have to make those adjustment in your schedule to kind of serve your customer. And as DP mentioned, it is not mandatory. It is not that you have to do it, okay? But if you do it, you will become very close to your customer, and the business and your career growth will eventually happen if you continue doing those things. So thank you so much, DP, for kind of sharing your experience of maintaining or building long lasting customer relationships. Another important skill, or another important area which I feel in medtech industry, medical devices, is very important, is the skill of managing your channel partner well. Okay, so would like
Yeah.
to hear your thoughts on how have you done it. Was it important for you? How important was it for you? Sometimes in my experience it was more important than the kind of customers itself or the healthcare professional itself. So how important was it for you in working in different companies, different businesses, and how did you kind of manage those channel partners? So what would be your advice to people who are there on this call on how they can build a good channel partner relationships as well?
I think channel partners are very, very important in this business. And they play a very, very important role because this business is very high capital investment business. And the channel partners usually invest a lot of capital in the business. And if, as a professional, as an industry, or as a company representative, you are not managing the channel partner in a profitable manner, he is not going to be your channel partner for the long term. So business is dynamic. The profits or the his payments, his investments will keep on fluctuating. But if, as a company person, you are not able to empathize with his situations and help him with his business, he will never be your channel partner. I think the channel partner has to be looked at as actually as a partner rather than कि ये मेरा distributor है. He is not your distributor. He is not your servant. He is a partner to your business. So the moment you define that, you actually start treating them as partners. You actually start understanding their problems. Their capital problems, or their payment problems, or their profitability issues, or their product management issues, or their expiries, or their stuck inventories. He need to look at you as a solution provider also, than only an order ask. ये भी इतने का order डाल दो, और इतना payment कर दो. You have to talk to him beyond these two things also, and you have to invest time with them. You have to show them, yes, you are actually my partner. You are the company's partner, and the company is going to take care of you, and you have to take care of the company business. It's a mutual two-way process. If the distributor is kept in a good humor means good mood, good, not even mood, good humor, I would like to say, he is going to do everything possible to grow your business. If the distributor believes that this company is just a business company for me, he will not do everything to grow the business. Then he will be like a transactional business. वो कहेगा अच्छा order दे दिया, payment दे दिया. That doesn't work. I think you need to treat them differently. We have treated distributors very, very differently in the past. We have even trained their employees. We have trained the distributors also, so they feel a part of it. We have trained them on the product knowledge. We have trained them on basic product knowledge. We have trained them on our policies. We have trained them on the way the business is done. All those things, they are a part of us. So they need to feel that we are a part of the whole group rather than we are just outsiders who are just supplying something. They are not my box movers. They're my partners. They help me grow the business. So that thing has to come in the mind. Otherwise, you're not going to treat them well. And if you're not going to treat them well, they'll not be long-lasting distributors with you. I remember in my past organization in cardiology, we had distributors for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, and they will always stick around us. They will never leave the company, whether the business is going down, or whether the profits are shrinking, whether the business is getting tougher, they will still be around. They will also figure out a way of managing things. And that's a very, very critical part of the business. And medical devices, yes, they play a very important role because it's a capital intensive business. All the companies cannot put their own money all the time. You need people to invest in your business. And obviously, in return, they expect a profit. They should get that profit. You as a professional, as a manager, have to make sure that the distributor is earning profit. If distributor is not earning profit, he is not working for you. Distributor is earning profit, that is important, and obviously the company will make profit, no doubt about it. So I think that's very, very important. And distributor is a businessman. उसके लिए profit बहुत important है. उसके लिए नुकसान बहुत important है कि नुकसान नहीं होना चाहिए. For him, loss is a loss. So I think the moment he sees that you are there to support him, you are there to help him to grow the business, they're all you. And that is very important. And you have to treat them as customers sometimes. Yeah? Treat them well. What's the harm in it? That guy is going to put a 2 crore order for you, or maybe sometimes 20 CR order for you. Sometimes $1 million orders for you. So they are important guys, right? So we can't treat them as some second class citizens. They are at par with you. And I think very important, what I feel is giving respect to somebody doesn't cost anything. You treat people with respect how the job is done. You treat people with openness. You treat people with very, very transparency how the job is done. And that's what I have done in my career all through all my business partners. I'm very, very transparent. ये है तो है, नहीं है तो नहीं है. Because that helps. We should not shy away. I've seen a lot of professionals taking distributors for ride. They will just tell them anything, commit them anything, and then they'll not do anything about it. Don't do that. Don't treat them as just a businessman. They are people. They are partners to you. You have to treat them equally. You have to treat them well. You have to treat them transparently. If it's possible, it's possible. It's not possible, it's not possible. And I think that is one of the strategies I use in my all conversations with anybody, whether it's my colleague, whether it's my industry friend, whether Pankaj is there or a doctor is there or a distributor is there or a purchase manager is there. I'm very open, I'm very transparent. Sir, ये होगा, ये नहीं होगा. I can't be beating around the bush and later on creating a different situation, a difficult situation for everybody. And that's what if you do that, you will never going to earn trust. And if you don't earn trust, you're never going to earn the relationship. So relationship based on trust and faith. That's very, nobody likes people who lie around, who just say anything and then disappear. Nobody likes it. You will not like it. I'll not like it. So let's be very, very. We have to be clear about it. That ये होना है और ये नहीं होना है. It might be a difficult situation that time when you say this, but I can guarantee you, your rest of the life will be more easier. Rather than managing your excuses and false promises, it is better to not to do them.
Right. Thank you so much, kind of elaborating on the channel partner. That's why we call them as a channel partner and not a distributor or a dealer in medical devices. And you have to give them respect. You have to understand their pain points. You have to understand what is their interest in business. And as DP mentioned, if you kind of care for your channel partners, they will also care for you and your business and your company. And it's a win-win situation for both the company as well as the channel partner. So always have this, try to get on these kind of relationships, and it's beyond what you can do for your channel partner, and how you can kind of get into that exciting relationships for business continuity. So moving on from here, DP, I would like to also, since you are a business director and you must be getting a lot of people in your company starting from the ground level to up. Okay, so and a lot of people, as I said, are here and who wants to get into medical devices. So what do you look for? What are the key attributes? I think we have spoken a lot in terms of few key skills which are important for getting into medical devices. But what do you look for in candidates while hiring them in medical devices?
Okay, so that's again, when you conduct interviews, so it's very important. What I feel is very important is the way overall candidate is being presented to you. I might not hire a person who is a superstar but bad at attitude or bad at learning capabilities, or who is too full of I, me, myself. I would rather hire a person who's having the positive attitude, who has a learning capability, who's street smart, who has good communication, and who's very, very open and transparent. Because that is the key, in this business. If you are not transparent to your customers, if you're not transparent to your partners, if you're not transparent to your colleagues, you're going to end up in a difficult situation. So business will come. All these capabilities, if somebody has, I think he can be a successful person. Yes, and I think I read a lot of people writing, I'm from pharma, I want to get into device. Let me tell you, everybody in devices come from pharma. Nobody has landed here from his college directly into devices, because pharma was the only main industry once upon a time, and everybody graduated from pharmaceuticals to devices. There are very hardly any people who have joined directly out from their college into a device company. Now it might happen because now the systems, MDPs and interns, that's happening. But then all business leaders across industry right now are all pharma people. The Eli Lilly's, Novartis, Sanofi's, all those full Fords. Yeah. So they'll come. So I think it's very important when I'm assessing the people. See, apart from basics, education, his experience, his success stories, I think these are all variables. These are going to be there. ये तो basic है. If you're taking, ये सब तो होना ही है. तभी तो उसका interview ले रहे हो आप. But then what I assess is how the overall candidate is presenting himself. We do a lot of hirings. I've done a lot of hirings in my career, and for the last 3 years, I've done so many hirings, and so I might have done about 500 interviews, and and it's important that people present themselves very openly. They are candid. They're not lying, and if they don't know, they have to say I don't know, and because the moment you say I don't know, that means they're willing to learn, and so all these things, communication is very critical. The way you speak, how you speak, because that's important. Sometimes you have to uh, tell the whole clinical trial in 2 minutes of discussion to a customer, right? So वहाँ पे communication काम आएगा कि आपका control कितना है language के ऊपर, how much do you control your language, your emotions. Then very important part is emotionally stable people, good high EQ people, not very emotional people. Very emotional people will be difficult in this industry, because this industry tests your emotions a lot. Customer will call you, he might make you wait, he might not meet you after that, he might sometimes situation might have, he might scold you in front of the whole OPD in the cath lab, something will happen. So one has to be very, very emotionally better off in this role, because this is a different world, and this is a tougher world, because it's a flat hierarchy organizations. The growth opportunities are limited. So again, there the emotional question comes. You have to be emotional, right? I mean, all the time you're craving to your manager, मेरा क्या होगा? होगा. Everybody will get, but you have to get deserving for it. Okay, so I think these are the few very, very important parameters. And usually I interview, I think I speak 40% of the time and 60% of the time the candidate. I don't like candidates speaking 90% of the time. I speak 40% of the time, because I feel it is very important in an interview a person that he has to know about the organization from the person who's taking it, not what Google he has read in something. No, you have to tell. You have to tell him about yourself. Who are you? Why you are here? You have to make them comfortable. Then only you have a good interaction. I don't get into too much of technicals. That's how it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving, I think, a lot of insights into the interview process and what are the things which are required. And important thing is that you how you are presented, as DP mentioned, is very important to the interviewer, and how you carry yourself. What are the things, and are you clear with your thought process or not? Okay, what are the things which are important for you, your successes, your failure, how do you kind of do the regular stuff, and what kind of innovation you are bringing to your organization apart from the routine work which is being given to you, assigned to you by your company. How you innovate in your day-to-day life, and how you kind of manage those customer relationship, manage those channel partner relationships is extremely important. And I think those come out very well in the interview, and that's what most of the hiring managers in medical device interview who's also try to assess. So moving on from here, and this will be my last question, and then we will open up for the audience. So you can also, guys, I would suggest, strongly recommend all of you that you start typing in your questions. And that's what most of the hiring managers in medical device also. So I would, DP, you are on mute, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Pankaj, okay. I think I was checking the YouTube also.
okay, all right, okay.
That's
Okay, so guys, you can type in your questions and your comments and how has been your experience, and if you have any question, we'll be taking your questions after this, after my last question. So my last question to you, DP, is that we have seen a lot of changes happening in medtech industry, even recently, even in COVID times and last couple of years. So what kind of trends do you see evolving in the future, especially in medtech industry? And we see a lot of resurgence of domestic players, because medtech industry is one industry where it was heavily import dependent till now, but in last few years we have seen a lot of domestic players kind of coming up and changing the game of medtech industry. So what do you see overall happening in future for medtech industry? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So thanks, Pankaj. I think it's a very, very elaborative question, but I think what overall feeling I get is the way see, COVID is an exceptional situation. Uh, it's an exceptional situation, and we cannot define the trajectory on one exceptional situation. But having said that, India is a large country, large population, large disease burden, three things, and a very, very large young population with a very, very modern lifestyle. So all these factors put India on a map where the disease burdens are going to increase, especially the lifestyle diseases like diabetes or cardiac problems or other issues. And the industry is going to grow further and further. No problems about it. It's on a growth track. It is not going to go down any sooner. COVID growth is different. If you remove that COVID spike, it is still on a growth track, and it is still going to grow because of the demographics of the country. Second part is government spending on healthcare has gone up. And if the government spending on healthcare has gone up, they are upgrading the medical colleges, they are making more medical colleges, and all these things, upgradations and investments will demand a lot of devices, a lot of equipments, a lot of capital equipments will be bought. So that just is a growth path for all the whole medtech industry. So I don't see anything losing going forward. In 5-10 years, it's going to still happen. But yes, it's a growth track, and it will require people also. It will require more companies to come in. Still, India has a very, very lag in the indigenous development R&D of the products. We still are a very, very import focused country, because a lot of things are not made here, and so we still the MNCs have a very, very larger role to play in the Indian industry. Yes, in certain sectors, a lot of Indian companies are also coming, and they are doing very well. If we look at the cardiac market or the cardiology segment specifically, we have a couple of Indian companies which are doing very well from the last few years. And now, in fact, the tide is shifting to 60% Indian consumption products, then 40% to MNC products. But that's a very, very small segment. That's only the cardiology stent market, to be very, very specific. But then medtech is a very, very huge space. It right from starts from a needle to an OT room or a cath lab, or much larger things in life. So I think this is going to be a growing field. A lot of demand is there. So if the demand is there, revenue is there. If the revenue is there, the business is happening, and the growth. And if the growth is happening, people are required. So a lot of people will be required to manage this growth, and the people with right aptitude and attitude both will fit in those roles. And it is not only at the frontline roles or the middle level roles, but I think at the at the higher up roles also, there are going to be a lot of demand over a period of time. Obviously, COVID times, last 6-7 months has seen a downfall in hiring and expansion in the companies, and in fact, some companies would have also done some corrections or some layoffs have happened. But that's a temporary phenomenon. The moment COVID starts subsiding, maybe another 3, 4, 6 months, we don't know, it's going to rebound. We have already seen the cardiology market coming back to 50, 60% now, where it had gone to almost 20% in the month of April, May. So the revival is there, and I see a lot of companies hiring now. I see a lot of companies hiring because being in the industry, are connected with so many business leaders. We are connected with so many recruitment consultants, and we keep on hearing the hirings are beginning at various levels. It could be front lines, it could be middle orders. So it's already started. So that means organizations are looking the future as a positive, very, very positive. That's why they're expanding. That's why they're hiring, and it's going to be there. And people with the right skill set will always be in demand, and good people are always in demand. You know, sometimes I remember when the growths were happening and it was normal times, the business was growing flourishly. We used to talk, if you find a very good person, hire him. You might not have a role, but hire him and find a role for him. So, and soon, these days will again be back, and all the hirings are again on. So it's good news for everybody, and the business is reviving. And yes, we have to be secure, safe in COVID times, but yes, the opportunity is far more bigger, and it is going to grow further.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that question. So let me start and opening up for the audience to kind of take their questions. So first question I'm taking from YouTube. There are a lot of comments, DP, on kind of their experiences, or like a lot of us have this feeling that they want to get into MNC also only, and there are a lot of comments on YouTube is regarding Indian versus MNC. So since you have worked in both these sites, you have worked both in Indian companies and multinational companies. So a lot of people are asking about the kind of culture, about HR standard, about the customer investment, about customer focus, and what is the overall kind of way of doing business. So and what would be your response to kind of picking and selecting between these two, between maybe Indian and MNC, how these are different, how they are similar, and what one should look for while selecting a company to get into medical devices?
Okay, I think the debate or the thoughts about Indian and the MNC, uh, I think it has been long there in the market, and it will always be there. But we have to always realize that our healthcare system, especially the medical device domain, has always been dominated by multinationals. It's a simple fact because they are the innovators. They are the first time makers of the products. So obviously they are going to dominate. Nobody else needs those products. But we have seen in the last 8 to 10 years that a lot of indigenous companies have also come, especially if I talk about cardiology and orthopedic space. They have come up with their own products in India. And initially they had a lot of trouble, but now over a period of time they have grown. So that is how, there is a paradigm shift and shift from a multinational to an Indian company, no doubt about it. It is always, if you shift from one MNC to other MNC also, then again it's a paradigm shift because every MNC does not operate in the same manner. All have different ways of operations, all have different cultures, all have different, way of thinking and making their people comfortable. So every company is different. One point is that, yes, Indian companies are different, no doubt about it, because they are smaller in size. They are growing, they are evolving into a company. They evolve, their processes are evolving. The systems are evolving. Especially in the medtech devices space. So they are evolving. But yes, I believe culture of the organization is majorly driven by the leader you get in. When I joined my present organization, uh, you know, So the systems and processes which I set for my team are going to drive the culture of the people. It is very important. The standards you set for the people. Whereas I saw some comments, the HR policies, they're broadly very same. They're broadly very same. The salary structure might be different, but they pay you well. They have the same standard of working standards, whether it is travel, whether it is your allowances or anything that is similar. And yes, the products from Indian companies have to fight a hard battle in the mind of the customer to get space. That's a given, that's the reality, and it will take time, no doubt about it, because all the research and innovation has been done by MNCs, and they deserve to get that space. But yes, Indian companies are also getting that space. In cardiology segment, Pankaj, you will agree that almost 60% of the consumption are Indian companies. So because they are gaining, the technology has evolved, so everybody is able to make a good product now. Yes, the evidence is small, but the evidence also grows with the time. So I think it's nothing like that, uh, yes, it will always in the mindset, because we are a dominant MNC driven people. Everybody will MNC. MNC means better, right? But it might not be 100% all the time, right? We have seen big products from MNCs failing in the market. We have seen big products from Indian companies failing in the market. So every company has their failures and successes. The only thing is you don't have to change your basic DNA when you work in an organization. If you have certain standards and ethics in your life, a certain way of doing business, you don't have to change it. You have to work around it. You don't have to become कि अभी मैं इंडियन में आ गया हूँ तो बिल्कुल मैं change हो जाऊँ, नहीं होना है. We don't have to. That's what's the beauty of you as your own strength as a professional is. If you change too much, then you are nowhere. Then you're just a copycat. So when you join, so I joined this organization to set the new system, and we set it up. We set a lot of things. We set the organization in a different manner, and I think we have a lot of people sitting in this group right now who might be knowing me personally, or who might be knowing my organization personally, and they would have seen a sea change in the way our organization looked after these 3 years of my investment of time in this company. So I think that is what we have to do. We have to change things, right? So that's why we joined here. That's why we work here. And I know for myself that yes, we have seen the way we were looked when I joined, and the way we are looked when I spent 3 years. So that is the paradigm shift everybody has to work and bring. कौन करता है? लोग ही तो करते हैं. Nobody else will do it. If you think somebody else will come and do it, will not do it. You have to do it, especially when you are in a leadership position. So that is where you can drive a lot of things. Yes, they are not too deep pocketed companies. They have their own resource limitations, but yes, they grow easy, slow and steady. They might not have deep pockets like a big MNC to spend, but they spend in their own domain, and they create their own mark, and they create on their they create their own space in the industry, slow and steady. And that's why 60% is today Indian companies and 40% MNCs. So it's okay, no problems. I think one has to be as I said, you have to have an open mind. You have to have open mind, but you don't have to change your basic DNA. Yes, if your DNA is wrong, then you have to change. But if your DNA is in the right path, you don't have to change it. You can change the people around you. So that's what I think. That's the way it is very important. There are a few comments, Pankaj. I want to take them.
Yeah, I will be taking those comments. Thank you so much for kind of elaborating on the Indian versus MNC. I think a lot of people would be having this doubt, but yes, as the industry is growing, and it is bound to happen in any industry. Okay, when the any industry grows in size, there are more and more kind of domestic player, more and more competition would be coming in, and obviously there'll be kind of next leg of growth would cannot entirely depend on the only on the MNC. And as DP mentioned, you have to do your own due diligence, and you have to know that company, where are you going, why are you going, and who are the people who are working there. It's not only the name of the company, but people you are getting associated with, people you will be working alongside in your next company. I think these are very important. And as DP mentioned, he has changed a lot of things in his organization, and I'm sure many other or Indian companies are also following this suit. So guys, do your own research, get interacted with a lot of people who are working in those companies. You will get a lot of insights on which company to join and which company not to join. So moving on from here, I think there is a question from Ritesh on Zoom only. So I think this question can be there in the minds of many of the people who are here on this call, or probably who would be listening after this live session ends on the as the recorded session on YouTube. But I also get this kind of question because people who are very much experienced, say like 7 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years of working in pharmaceutical industry, and probably they what should be their reason to get into medical devices. I see a lot of enthusiasm building up in pharmaceutical sales professionals to get into medical devices, but this is one burning question which they have. Most of them will be having is that, let me read out a question from Ritesh only. So he's asking, would you advise to join medtech industry even if one is not getting much monetary benefits, but chances for personal growth is much more in medtech than pharma? So what would be your advice to people who are kind of more experienced, their kind of salary must be in the higher brackets? So what would be your advice?
So, okay, so I think this is an important question, no doubt about it, because as I said, we become RMs in pharma and then we think, यार मैं एक rep या area manager कैसे join करूँ medtech? It's a similar question. But then, it all depends on 2 3 things. First thing is how important for you it is to join a medtech. Do you really want to join a medtech? If you want to join, then you have to accept few things. और if you are only looking कि मैं भी RM बन जाऊँ, मेरे को ZM बनना है, उस तरीके से वो थोड़ा मुश्किल रहेगा. But then how important is as the answer is in his question only. If the opportunity of exposure, learning, and growth is more in medtech, then you should join. You might not have to compromise in salary. I don't think any medtech will offer you what you're earning right now in a pharma lower than that. I don't think that it will happen anywhere. But yes, the designations might change. The pharma designations are in different domain, and medical device designations are in different domain. As I told you, when I joined, I was a RM in Fulford. I joined as clinical specialist. अभी वो क्या मैच है? कोई मैच नहीं है, right? But then I joined because I was very, very clear that I have to get into medical devices, and at any cost. Yes, I joined as not very higher percentage-wise growth on the monetary front. It was a very, very nominal growth. But I can tell you, guaranteed, if I would have spent next 15 years in pharmaceuticals, I think I would have not even ended up 30% or 40% of what I would have reached today, monetarily. So that is a decision one has to take, and उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. How much confidence you have in yourself? How much do you think you are ready to go through a paradigm shift in your life? And how much you are ready to get down from that boss level to a executive level or to a real work level? Otherwise, you can't do it. And if you want to join a medical device company and still carry that attitude, मैं तो boss हूँ, तो मुश्किल हो जाएगा बहुत ज़्यादा. So I think it is very important how focused and how badly you want to change your career from pharmaceuticals to medical devices. Nothing is wrong with pharmaceuticals. Nothing is wrong. Today, pharmaceutical companies are also paying very handsomely. They are also growing very fast. It will always grow. Pharma will always grow in India. It will never, because it's a high population country, high disease burden, everything. यहाँ पे कमी नहीं है. And pharma has also evolved now. In my time, joining a medtech device, the biggest motivation, would you believe, a candid answer I can give? Pankaj, shall I give a candid answer?
Yeah, please.
The biggest motivation of joining a medical device company for most of the people was going abroad. We would see these cardiac multinational companies guys coming, and then they're talking, अरे मैं अभी 2 महीने US गया था, हमारे टाइम पे वो मोटिवेशन था कि यार हमको ऐसी जगह जाना है जहाँ पे हमको फॉरेन जाना पड़े. But then today pharma company, all companies are going foreign, so that motivation no longer there. So I think it's very important that how serious you are to change your career. It's a different domain altogether. I have seen people going back to pharma from devices also. Not many, but few people have gone. But they might have gone as country head or some sales and marketing head because they saw a growth opportunity there. So I think it's okay unless you don't have to compromise on anything. But yes, it all depends how serious are you to change your life. If you're not, then don't take that decision. Because then what will happen? You will not feel happy. If you not feel happy, you will not put your effort. If you don't put your effort, you will fail. And I don't think one should fail. Yeah, Pankaj.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for kind of clearing
In
that
fact, I
doubt
can
for
share
many
one.
people.
Pankaj, I'll share one more thing. When I joined Guide in 2005, I already had a regional manager offer from a pharma company. I was carrying that offer in my pocket when I got a call from Guide. But I chose Guide because I wanted to be there.
Yeah. That's another thing is apart from the monetary thing is about the designation also, which I also have seen a lot of people kind of going one level, two level below and getting into medtech industry. But yeah, it's your personal choice. Why do you want to get into medical devices? So know your reasons, but
Pankaj,
whatever decision you, yeah.
Pankaj, I think it is not about level one or two below. I'll tell you one thing. It's not about the designation you carry. It is about the empowerment that role carries.
Yeah.
I was a RM in my pharma days. I could not approve a CME of 20,000 rupees. I was a
Right.
clinical specialist. I joined as a clinical specialist in devices. I could approve a 3 lakh rupee foreign tour or foreign conference participation for a customer without even asking my boss. So it is about the job enrichment and the job ownership and the empowerment. It is not about the designation. So I believe most of the frontliners who are in devices are usually second line people from pharma because you need that mature level to come in. You need that experience to come in. Hardly any fresh management guy will become a rep in devices. Very hard. Okay,
Right.
so it is not about the designation. Designation is very, very funny, right? Clinical specialist. Then we were called territory associate, right? Uh, then some business manager. In pharma, business manager country head. So
Right.
designations are funny, right? So for example, we have associate directors and directors in devices. But in essence, director is real director. He's sitting in the board. So designations are funny. Right? So it's all about one has to look at what the job is offering you, what kind of role it is, what kind of value it brings to your position, and obviously money will come in it.
Right.
Don't
I
look
mean,
at the designation. They're all funny. Every company has anything possible. Yeah,
right.
we have vice
Absolutely.
presidents, right? We have vice presidents.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, yeah. I think a lot of people have got their answers with regards to this question of kind of joining medtech from pharma, especially people who are more experienced, and maybe the package. What do you look for? I think. Thank you so much for clearing all those doubts. So let me take one more question from YouTube now. So Chandan is asking, and he's also like because of COVID, there are a lot of changes with regards to the way we meet customers. So, what do you see in terms of the trends of customer meeting the industry people? So, will it be digital, partially digital, physical, or kind of what do you see kind of once COVID phase is out?
So what do I see in the COVID phases out? The hiring or
Once
the
the
business?
no, in terms of our custom meeting customers, how do we kind of connect with customer now? I think more of it's a mix of digital and physically connecting with customers
Yeah,
for
it is
meeting
difficult.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so what do you see going forward in terms of trends?
I think it is going to continue. Customers are themselves very not very ready to meet right now, and we are also seeing in our domain where we have limited meetings with customers. but they are happening with limited, and whatever they happen are in very, very strict safety protocols. Having a mask, you have a sanitizer, you have a face shield. Customer has a glass wall in his room, and so these, but these are very, very limited. So I think uh, it's still going to continue till there is a vaccine out, and but yes, we all have to live with it. But customers, it's always good to be in touch with them, and that's what the relationship or long-term, helps actually. If you or your anybody in the system do not carry a long-term relation with the customer, you'll not be able to touch base with the customers, especially in these times when physical meetings are not possible. And we also in our sales teams also, people are going to the field when it is required only. They are not going as a routine working, going to the field and meet customers. But I think it's going to carry on, and we all have to be safe. I think we have to avoid it for your sake and for the doctor's sake, because we also have to remember one thing: doctors are all the time at more risk and exposure than you are, because they're in the hospital. They're surrounded by patients. They're surrounded by so many people around. So why to take chances? I don't know. Every company has a different policy of working nowadays. So if your company is pushing you to go, I can't say much in it. But I think in my organization, we are not pushing anybody to go to field to meet customers. They are free to decide on when and how to meet a customer and why to meet a customer. Yes, if it is something which cannot be avoided, they are expected to do it, but they are not expected to meet everybody every day. So at least we don't do that. It is important to be safe, because if you don't remain safe, who will meet them after the COVID gets over? So one has to live with it. So,
Right.
तो Chandan वही है कि don't get too bogged down. All companies have a different perspective. It also depends on your manager. It also depends on your leader, how he is taking it around. So uh, the HR might say कि करना है, but leader can always take a call. कि कैसे करना है. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So, thank you so much for answering that question. Another important question, which I think many of the people would have in their minds, is from Abhishek. So, Abhishek is asking, is saying medical devices is an ocean in itself. So, how would you rank divisions, say cardio, ortho, neuro, spine, etc., in terms of scope, products, learnings, and future growth? So, if one has to join from other industry in medtech, so how would you rate these various divisions?
Okay, so I think it's not fair to rate them. Medtech is medtech, and the broad soul of the medtech business remains similar in all the medtech divisions, whether it's cardio, ortho. So, ortho is very, very technical, right? Ortho is all about changing knees and hip joints and trauma surgeries. So they're very, very technical domains. You have to really have that skill set, or to learn those technicalities and become almost a doctor yourself. Almost a doctor. You don't have to do it, but you have to reach a level where you're almost parallel to a customer. And but neuro, spine, they're all very, very niche areas, and you can't rate them here and there. But I think what I see abroad, uh, people carry an image. I think they feel cardio is the best, but I don't think it's like that. The cardio is the best because maybe it's more in news. That's why people talk about it. But I think any domain of medical devices is exceptionally good. In fact, pharma also. Why should we beat the pharma down? Pharma is the big daddy, so you can't beat it down. But devices, see, you don't have to see. It's all about skill set and attitude and aptitude. If you're selling ortho, it doesn't mean you can't sell cardio. It doesn't mean that. If you have the right personality, right confidence, right attitude, and the right aptitude, you can do anything. You can switch from cardio to ortho to neuro to capital equipments, anything. I switched from cardio to capital equipments 3 years. Totally new domain, never heard of those products. I was selling ventilators, bedside monitors, those ICU monitors you see on the bedside. which gives you all the vitals. I was selling sutures. I was selling, so it's a different world. Yeah. Yes, every domain is uh, their way of functioning a little different. The customers, the way those organizations work around. For example, cardiology societies or ortho societies or neuro societies, they will have their own way of functioning. So cardio society is a little more, flamboyant, I would say. We have big meetings, large gatherings, and conferences, live cases. I have seen both the worlds now, so I can relate. Cardiology is little on a much broader level than anybody else. But I think you don't need to really categorize yourself कि मेरे को cardio में ही जाना है. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think
Because
his
yeah,
question is with regards to scope and future growth in each of
scope
these.
everywhere. No. As I said, medtech itself is a big scope in India. It's a geographically, demographically positioned for a growth trajectory. We are a large population with large disease burden. We are the largest, youngest population in the world, which is going to become middle age in 10 years. And they are all nuclear families now. They are both the people are they have a modern lifestyle. They have they have all these ways and means of life which is not so healthy. So they are all going to land with some problem. Sorry to be so candid, but everybody is going to land with some problem, including we all sitting here, because of the way we live. We don't have a healthy lifestyle. So this market is not going down anywhere. And secondly, I also told earlier that the government spending on healthcare is increasing. So it will all come to medical devices only. अगर आपको नया मेडिकल कॉलेज बनाना है तो यू टू बाय कार्डियोलॉजी, कैथ लैब, ऑर्थो, ओटी, equipments, monitors, everything. So tremendous growth opportunities.
Right. Thank you
So
so
don't
much
restrict yourself, because then it will be difficult to do the shift.
Right. Thank you so much for answering that question. I think that was also again very important question. Thanks for answering, DP. Another question from Abhishek is, I think we have talked about a lot of attributes till now in our last 1.5 hours conversation. So again, question if you want to kind of give some pinpointed answer. So his question is around what will be the top 3 personal and professional attributes to survive and excel in medical devices, according to you?
I think we have talked a lot about it in
Yeah.
detail.
All right.
So I think
Okay.
again I can choose, again I can repeat or say something.
Sure.
First of all is uh, uh, open learning aptitude. Second is very strong customer orientation. Third is result orientation. Fourth is team orientation. You don't
Great.
have, they are not ranked. Huh? These are 4 points. ये ranking in year 1, 2, 3, 4. ये 4 तो होना must है. So unless you have an open learning aptitude, you will not be able to enter those 3 points.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
or when I say learning doesn't mean कि anatomy, physiology पढ़नी है, clinical knowledge लेनी है, product के specifications पढ़नी है. That is just half of it. Other half is learning how to operate, how to how to carry yourself, how to learn the systems and processes, how to learn the culture, how to flexibly mold yourself into the new system. All these things, these are all learnings. How to manage next level of customer. That is another learning. How to sometimes be ready for a short notice test. All these things. ये सब learning का part है.
Right, absolutely. And I think another, thank you so much for answering this question. Another question is from Varat Raju. Probably to answer this question, you have to wear an astrologer's hat. So his question is, if second storm of COVID hits India, how will it affect or impact the medical industry as a whole?
Wow. So I think it will impact both positive and negative depending on the industry product line you're working in. in this COVID, we have seen companies do their 200% targets. So it has impacted them positively. We have seen companies doing only 25% target. So it has impacted negatively. So I think it is a mix. We have seen pharma companies doing phenomenally well in COVID times because suddenly the demand for medicines and everything went up. We have seen emergency services going up because demand is there. We have seen capital equipment's gone up, demand is there. We have seen my past profile bedside monitors and all, they have got shot up the roof, so that's positive for them. We have seen cardiology tank to 20%, that's loss. So I think it's a mix. So we have to live with it. It's the only, sometime back somebody was saying which industry is better. For I think COVID cardio is the worst, right? So you should not join cardio because they are the most hit, right? And so you should join some capital equipment, ventilator company, or the OT company or the ICU companies. They are doing business. So I think it's a mix, Vardha, and it's still going to remain. But I am sure organizations have dealt with the first wave in their own restricted ways. But if it continues in the similar fashion, if it doesn't taper down, it will be tough life for everybody because nobody has eternal deep pockets to manage everything. Our own household, if you have to look at internal house also, right? If you keep spending the same money you're spending in normal times, you will end up nowhere. So I think we have to live with a pinch of salt with it, and we have to pray that it doesn't extend too fast. Otherwise, it will be big trouble, especially for industry or the product lines which are not doing very well. So some product lines are doing very well, so they are benefiting. Some we have seen, without taking names of the company, we're seeing some companies have even exited a lot of people. Some companies have done salary corrections. Some companies have done some way or other way they're trying to negotiate the pinch. But yes, it's both positive and negative both, because every situation, anything in life, for some it is positive, for some it is negative. It has two sides, right? Positive and negative. So this also has two sides. I have people in capital equipment business, they are so happy. They have done 200% to the plan. Now they are worried. Next year kya hoga? Because their base is too high now. So everything is, so moderation is always good, but sometimes you don't have control on this. That's what it is.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for answering that question. I think another similar question from Nikhil, probably I think we have covered some part of it. So he's asking that what could be the possible reason of consistent migration from MNC to Indian companies in the last few years? Does that signify the continuous deterioration of MNC culture, or Indian companies are improving themselves to MNC level? Would you like to answer that?
Yes. So I think I will not agree to that the deterioration of the MNC culture. See, culture or the system of process of the company, none companies have changed. The only thing is the market forces and the leadership styles have changed. I told earlier also, it depends on leader, how they lead the pack in different situations. So nothing has changed. So I don't see any MNC has changed their policies or their SOPs or their way of behavior or way of culture. Nobody has done that. It always is driven by, it's all people driven. In the same company, you might have one regional manager doing his business in a different manner, the other doing it in the worst manner possible. It's possible. It's all about people. So I think the second part, going to Indian company, yes, it is happening in India. Why? We talked about 60% of market shifting to Indian companies, especially if you talk about cardio domain or orthopedics also. Orthopedics, a lot of companies are doing very well. And other, especially emergency services products and a lot of other capital equipment also Indian companies are gaining ground. It is because their numbers are growing. They are growing much faster than the MNCs are growing. So that's why people see more opportunity there, more growth opportunity there. They are expanding. So the talent is required. So that is the one part. And there's nothing against MNCs. The only thing is when the numbers are not growing and For example, if the cardiology market is shifted from 60 to 40% to MNC, so you can just imagine for a company which was doing 100%, and suddenly if they are lagging at 80% or 85%, so the pressure is going to build up. And because numbers are always important, the performance is important, the revenue cycle is important. So that is one of the that could be one of the reasons that. But having said that, we have also seen some MNC companies doing exceptionally well in this situation also. Not all MNCs are failing. So I think it is all about how the organization leadership takes this competition, takes the situation and reacts and makes a strategy for that situation to be handled. We have seen, Pankaj will agree, he is smiling, there are three top companies in cardiology, and one company is doing exceptionally well and other two are struggling. So why one can do exceptionally well? The problem is same for everybody, right? So I think it's the way the whole system works. So nothing against anybody, but then I don't agree that the culture is deteriorating. The culture is not deteriorating. The market forces are making such situations which is creating these problems, and people are not able to handle those pressures, those stress situations. Then they go to a company where they feel they can do much better.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for answering that, DP. And I think innovation has to happen, and the business models are kind of changing every single day, or the new things are coming in. It's not only in the technology, or it's the way India is growing, the way the medtech market is growing, the medical industry is growing. Obviously, business model will evolve. Okay, and there'll be a few companies which will do very well, and some companies which where probably may not be able to do the business with the a kind of new business model. Okay, so
And
obviously these things. Yeah,
Pankaj, I do agree with his point that Indian companies are improving themselves
yeah,
also
yeah.
because they are evolving. They have spent 10 years, 11 years in the country now. They evolved. They have become big 1,000 crores, 2,000 crores companies. So their systems are also evolving, and I think we are the live examples. So my president is a live example. In the last 3 years, we have seen paradigm shift in a lot of things. And we have seen a lot of things changing because when we came, what we saw and today what we see is different. So I think it's all about the market forces. So if somebody is changing for better, that's again a market force requirement. And somebody is not able to handle that market force and changing for not so better is again a force. So I think everybody has to evolve to a situation, and the reaction to a particular situation and the response which anybody gives, that defines the way you live, that defines the way you do business. So that's okay.
Right. I think that sums it up. I think we have already crossed 1 hour 40 minutes into this session, and a lot of
Thank
people
you,
are still
Pankaj.
there. So thank you so much, DP, for taking time out and kind of discussing and sharing those insights from your own practical experience of working for last 25 odd years in medical industry. And so I think that was some of the great learning, and I have made my notes, and I'm sure a lot of people have also made notes, and will follow some of these learnings into their own practical, into their own lives. So once again, thank you so much for DP for joining in, and thank you so much everyone for coming on this show on this Sunday and kind of spending almost 2 hours and for your own career growth. I'm sure you liked this session. Just put in your comments about your responses on did you like this session, or how can we make it better. So just to kind of reiterate, we come here every Sunday on this live show on my YouTube channel, The Bright Orbit, as well as on the Zoom meeting. So next week as well, we will be coming up with the new exciting guest on a new topic on medtech industry. So till then, just take care of yourself. Have remaining few hours of Sunday, spend time with your family. And once again, thank you so much for joining in on this show. So goodbye, everyone. See you next week, next Sunday.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. It was great to be here, and wish you all the best. Be safe, and have a great career ahead. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.